So today's video is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to talk to you about why I'm leaving Colorado Springs. A hard decision, a personal decision, but it's not completely what you think, so stay tuned. So whether you are currently living here or thinking of moving here, just kind of curious about the area and starting that search, today we're going to talk about some of the reasons that people, especially our clients, have left the area and what that looks like, so stay tuned. All right, so you really probably know me, know I love Colorado Springs, but so I'm not moving far. I'm actually moving to Monument. I'm going to tell you why I made that decision and some of the reasons behind that. But first, we're going to look into actually facts of why people are actually leaving Colorado Springs. We've had clients move here to the area, stay here for a couple years, and then decided it just wasn't their cup of tea, and they moved on. We actually have two clients who did that, but now they're coming back because the grass wasn't greener on the other side, and they're like, I do want to live in Colorado Springs. So it is kind of like you're moving from out of state, so there's a lot of angst that go with that. There's a lot of moving pieces, and I know that pulling that trigger, just for me, pulling the trigger on moving from one house to another, from Colorado Springs to Monument, was like gut-wrenching for me. I couldn't make that decision. So I can't imagine if you're out there and you're living in a different state, which most of you who watch our YouTube channels are, and moving to Colorado and all those big decisions, like when you finally pull that trigger and you're like, yes, we're gonna do this, I know that's anxiety provoking. So I'm gonna walk you through some of that with what our clients have said, and they all go through it at some point. So it's something that Kayleen and I really help you guys sift through and work through. So if it is your first time to our channel, I'm Lori Derrickson. My business partner, Kayleen Zabidik, who you see in every other video, is out showing houses right now. So today you get me, and we're gonna walk you through some of those pieces of why people are moving to the area. We help hundreds of families every day do it. It's actually one of our busiest quarters that we've had in the first part of the year. So if you're thinking of moving here, we help people do it daily. We're really good at what we do. Check out our 5-star Google reviews. We're very personable. We each have 3 kids of our own and a husband of our own. And so we help people make that move all the time. We're familiar with our neighborhoods inside and out. So we would love to help you make that move. So put those numbers into your phone and reach out. So first, we're going to talk about why people are actually leaving Colorado Springs. And then I'll tell you kind of my own personal reasons and kind of what went into that and what that looked like for me personally here. But so let's talk about why some of our clients have left Colorado Springs after they moved here. So number one is it is growing. So this is a growing city. So if you were in Colorado Springs, some of you reach out and you had been to Colorado Springs 20, 30 years ago. It's a very different city now than it was 20, 30 years ago. Now, we're not like Denver, so if you do not want that big city, that's kind of why I love Colorado Springs in this area, is because I personally want to have all the amenities that come with a big city, but also don't want to fight the traffic and have that huge city vibe that Denver has. So Colorado Springs, it is growing a lot. You'll see us ranking on top places to live, best parks, best weather, and so it does attract a lot of people who are moving here. So along with that comes that growth of that city. So if you were here a long time ago and you think it's more that slow-paced Colorado Springs that it was 20, 30 years ago, it is not anymore. So I encourage you to come out and take a look. I was actually just helping a client yesterday who actually did the same thing. She had been here, I think it was maybe even like 45 years ago, so a long time. And so she was coming to check it back out, which I thought was great before she actually made that decision. So growth is one reason. If you're not prepared for it, people are leaving. So number two, and I always talk about this in videos and when I'm having those conversations with clients on the phone or when you guys come out here, is the weather. So if you come out here in June, like June, July, August, September, October, even December, are absolutely gorgeous. We don't have humidity, we don't have bugs, we have a ton of sun. Today is actually kind of a gloomy day, and I saw one of our clients post on Facebook and she's like, it is never gloomy here, this is strange. And so that is true. However, we do have a winter. So if you are coming from, those California or Texas, and you do not want that cold, we do have January, February, March. So a lot of our clients who come out during that time, I'm like, well, if you love it now, you will love it in the summer or the fall because that's absolutely gorgeous here. But it does go dormant here, like the leaves in the trees fall off. The grass turns brown. And we do get snow. Now, we don't get snow like the ski towns of Breckenridge and Copper and Vail. Like that, it snows right in November and it stays through the entire season. Here on the Front Range, it's kind of unique. So it'll snow and then a day or two later, it'll melt. So I'm from Minnesota, and once it snowed, typically when I was growing up, it stayed. And so that's not like that here. So it is a little bit more of a mild climate than actually you think of those mountain towns. But we do have a winter, so you need to be prepared for that. Number 3 is traffic. Now, when people say this, it's really depending upon your perspective of traffic. Now, we do have a lot of construction. We have a lot of potholes because of our weather. And we have one main road, like highway that goes, I shouldn't say one main road. We have one main freeway that goes north and south in our town. It's I-25, so Interstate 25. And it goes, all the way from the southern part of the state, all the way to the northern part of the state, through Denver, through Fort Collins. And that's our main northwest thoroughfare. Now, if you want to go east or west, we don't have a freeway, which I always think is kind of strange. There are some, but not like the freeway, the major roads that you think of. For the most part, you will be going on I-25 and then taking some bigger streets, but not quite as big. Like Woodman, I'm thinking of. There's the Powers is going to extend and hit all the way to I-25. And if you're not living here, it doesn't really completely make sense. But if you're kind of thinking of traffic from like a big city perspective, Colorado Springs is fine. A lot of our clients do move here and they're like, I want to live within 30 minutes of my office or my work. You can almost live anywhere and be within 30 minutes. Now, if you're working down like at Fort Carson, some of those Army bases, and you live up in Monument, that's probably more of about a 45 to 55-minute drive, depending upon traffic. I-25 can get kind of backed up, especially in the evenings when you are coming home from that commute. So some people do get frustrated with it, especially if you are coming from a smaller town, maybe not used to that traffic. A lot of our clients do work from home. So when you guys reach out, we kind of get a feel for where you guys want to live, close to your work. Do you work from home? What kind of lifestyle do you want? And we kind of help you guys piece all that together. But number 3 is traffic. Last but not least, and one of the most common factors people are leaving Colorado Springs, and then I'm going to get to my personal reasons of my move from Colorado Springs to Monument, and kind of what's the difference between Colorado Springs and Monument. Really, they're so close, and our clients really can choose anywhere and be in proximity of, most of what they think of as Colorado Springs per se. So the last one I want to talk to you about is pricing. So yes, our pricing has gone up, as most places in the country, and it has gotten a little bit more expensive to live, again, depending upon your perspective. But when you look at housing prices, typically housing prices, you need to have probably at least 400 to 450, and that's probably going to put you in like more of that central southern Colorado Springs areas. When you get to those northern sections, you probably need a budget of at least 500, and when we talk about some of those master plan communities, you're approaching those $600,000 price points. So there are different types of housing and different types of neighborhoods and different types of areas, but our average mean house price point is around $500,000. So just think about that when you're thinking of making the move. And when you guys reach out, we kind of put you up on a home search. If you're coming out, we make a driving tour for you. And we have you talk to a lender. So one, we don't want you house poor. We want to make sure you know exactly what you're getting yourself into as far as like payment and what type of housing to expect with that. And so we kind of set that all up for you so you kind of know what to expect on housing prices and what you can afford here in Colorado Springs. So you have your house. We want to make sure that is, exactly, it's your home, right? We want to make sure that's where you picture coming home to after work, raising your kids, whatever that is in your stage of life and what that looks like. So we know that's important, but we also know you want to get out there and explore those mountains and get out there and explore the sun. And the good thing about Colorado Springs is the outdoor nature is usually free, depending upon what you're doing. So if you're going hiking or biking, you can get out there and explore those Colorado lifestyle that you have been thinking about when you're thinking of making the move. So now let's get into my personal reasons. So for me, it really came down to age of home. So I've lived for 10 years in a 2-story home. It was an older home built in 1998, so it'll be hitting the market this summer. And I just kind of I've always wanted to build that new home. So we help clients do that all the time. We help you go to design center. We help you negotiate. Went back and forth with them. You have to think about landscaping costs. So with my new build, I had landscaping included. I had quite a bit of incentives because I negotiated pretty well with them. And that's something that we help you do. So make sure to reach out. Don't just ever go to a new build. You don't pay anything for having a real estate agent, I promise you, and we can help negotiate. You got to think about refrigerators, appliances, washer and dryer, landscaping, blinds, all that kind of stuff that you don't think about. Sometimes when you're landscaping, here in Colorado Springs. Some builders will include landscaping, some will include it only at a certain point, some will include the front, some will only include the back, but you got to think about it. So in, like, let's say Wolf Ranch, one of the neighborhoods we always talk about, you see those split rail fencing, those are made out of cement. So actually to, landscape a backyard just in Wolf Ranch can cost you $40,000-$50,000 minimum. I was actually showing homes to a client. They're looking at a $900,000 to $1 million home. It was actually a great lot. It was on a half acre, which is really unusual in Wolf Ranch, to be honest. But I was like, you guys, this is going to cost you probably $80,000 just to landscape this beautiful property that you have here. So we kind of talked our way through that and actually ended up going with a different property. So, but I've always wanted to have that newer home, and I wanted to kind of go through that design center and pick out my finishes and not have to worry about some of that. So age of home was a big one. I always told my husband, if I find the home in the lot, I think we should go for it. So that was one reason. So I am going to talk to you about the difference between Monument and Colorado Springs here in a little bit, but I want to go over a couple other factors to think about when you're picking your home. So when you're on the west side of Colorado Springs, those homes, a lot of those homes, there's hardly any new builds over there. A lot of those homes are built from the 80s, 70s. So you have a lot of those classic like tri-levels, some 2 stories, some when you walk in, that's those stairs that are straight up. So what type of house style do you want? And what kind of layout do you want? So that's kind of twofold. Do you want character? Do you want mature trees? A lot of our clients maybe want a bigger lot. They want mature trees. They don't want that planned community that is like massive and has all that. They want that Colorado feeling for it. So Kaylee and I are going to have that conversation with you and kind of direct you to certain areas here in Colorado Springs. If you're like, I do not want an HOA, I want mature trees. I want to step outside my front door and I want to hit those trails, like more with that lifestyle piece of it. Or if you're describing something completely different, I want a brand new ranch home. Like some clients all want main level living. They want that washer and dryer on the main level. They want, the master plus maybe 1 or 2 other bedrooms if they want their kids on that level. So it kind of like that really kind of deters where we're going to talk to you about where you want to live with kind of the style of the house. And for me, I knew I did want that ranch style home that, was main level living. And so those are there's ranches obviously everywhere, but it really did kind of dictate a little bit of where I searched for a home. So another factor for me was land. Now, land in Colorado Springs is expensive. So if you reach out to us and you're talking about your budget and you say you want 1 or 2 acres, but your budget's $500,000, that really probably isn't going to happen unless you're getting, something way out east, correct? But I don't want land. I didn't want to take care of it as I get older. Grass was really hard to grow here. Water is really expensive. Gardening is tough here. So if you're a gardener, I try every year. A lot of our clients try every year. We kind of laugh about it. It's just dry and like we don't have a ton of moisture, or really like kind of a desert climate, I would say a little bit. And so you have to think about that as far as land. Land is expensive. I didn't want to care for it anymore. And so Kayleen's sister, she bought some land and she's building this gorgeous home. I think Kayleen would probably prefer to have some space and some land. And I actually wanted a traditional neighborhood. So that's kind of why I zoned into this area in Monument. So location for me was a big thing. I currently live in the Briargate area, and I knew I kind of wanted to be a little bit more north. A lot of the growth is happening north. So you have Colorado Springs, Monument, and you have kind of a section where there's not a lot of development. You have homes on larger acres, some ranches that you drive through when you go through Larkspur, bigger price tag properties because of the land usually, or they're owned by the state. And then you get to Castle Rock, and we have family in Castle Rock. So I kind of knew that I wanted to kind of go with the growth a little bit. There's some golf courses up in the northern part that I wanted to possibly try to learn to play golf. We'll see how that goes. But location for me was a big one. I knew I didn't want to go south. I knew I wanted to continue to go north. And so that kind of played into our decision as well. Okay, so for this one, a couple of things I want you guys to think about. Number one is, I don't know what point I'm on anymore, but schools. If schools are important to you, that's going to help us dictate where you are going to live. For me, my kids go to District 20 schools. They're kind of getting near the end, so I was fine with that. They can continue going to those D20 schools. If schools weren't a factor for me, they are for a lot of our clients when you're first moving to the area. Number two is kind of a controversial one. For this point is HOAs. I currently do not have an HOA in my neighborhood. Some people absolutely love that. They love to park their RVs. They want to do whatever they want with their yard. They want to have chickens is a big one for some of our clients. They want to be able to park their cars where they want. So a lot of people prefer a no HOA. However, the neighborhood I live in, I love it. Don't get me wrong, but I would say a lot of the cars are being parked on the street. I don't love when there's a huge RV right out next to me. So I don't want a huge HOA, but I wanted someone to kind of govern that people are caring for their lawns. Like down the end of my street, there's like a little cul-de-sac pavilion place where it has like rocks. No one would ever take care of that. It was always weeds. So I go down there and take care of it because it drives me nuts. But I did want a little bit more of a governing body in HOA to kind of dictate that people take care of their yards. There's no big trailer next to me. There's certain parameters, right, that you have to be within. So that was a big factor for me as well. And this last one, and then I'm going to get to Monument and Colorado Springs, what's the difference, really is those views. I always told my husband when I walk into a house and I have a view, we have a gorgeous view at our house right now. We can see Pikes Peak. I can see from our shower, from our bathroom, from the deck. We have an expansive view of the Front Range. So I've just gotten used to seeing those views, which a lot of you reach out and you do want those views as well. But so I told my husband, once I find like that lot that has those views, we're going to pull the trigger. So we see a lot of houses. So my husband kind of knew. I've done it for 6 years and not pulled the trigger. But when I saw this lot, the views in Monument are different than the views in Colorado Springs. So in Colorado Springs, you have those Pikes Peak views. And then in more Monument up north, you can see Pikes Peak, but it takes a different angle. And you can see just more of the foothills. So I am going to miss Pikes Peak if I'm completely honest. I'm a little bit nervous about that. But you walk in that door and we're kind of elevated. Behind us is some properties that have a little bit larger lots. And so, of course, I'm in a neighborhood and I'm going to xeriscape the whole thing, so I don't want to take care of it. So that was a big factor. I have to have those views. So if you're moving here from out of state and you hear Colorado Springs and Monument, you might be thinking to yourself, what really is the difference? There's not a lot, but there are some big differences that I want you to think about. So a lot of times the northern part of Colorado Springs is District 20. Look at niche.com. Those schools get great ratings. And then when you move to Monument, a little bit north, you are into Lewis Palmer District 38. Also very great schools as far as niche.com rating goes. You can look at the CDE, the Colorado Department of Education, to look at ratings for those schools as well, but a much smaller school district. So you only have 2 high schools, where District 20 has 6, 7 high schools, I want to say. So it's a much larger district. So obviously a different feel for that. But I'm going to hop onto a map and show you the location of Monument versus Colorado Springs and what that looks like. Okay, so I popped onto Google Earth here. So you can see Colorado Springs here. This is the downtown area. This is Colorado Springs District 11 when you're looking at schools, which a lot of our clients are looking at. This is the western side, and here's that I-25. So I mentioned earlier the one main freeway that goes through there, and of course, there it is. You see there's nothing going east and west, so that was kind of what I was referring to earlier. Now, when you zoom in here a little bit, let's see here. You can start seeing this is still Palmer Park, Central, Ute Valley, gorgeous area here in the western side. You get up into Peregrine here, and then this is kind of that Briargate area we talked about, District 20 schools. Usually if you're north of Woodman, you will have District 20 schools. You have the Wolf Ranch, more of the newer developments. Over here on this side, this is Powers, that kind of is, it separates that side of the city, if I want to say, but it's filled with your Costco's, Targets, restaurants. It's probably one of the second main thoroughfare going north and south. Blodgett's Peak or space, or open space over here. This is Peregrine, and then you'll notice we get to the Air Force Academy. So you won't have any houses here. And then you get up here to Flying Horse, Northgate. Glen Eagle is kind of maybe the top part, I would say, of the northern Colorado Springs area. But when you're driving, there really is no like all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm in Monument. You can see it just kind of, this is Glen Eagle, and then you get into this section right here, Lewis Palmer High School, District 38. And so it's not like you're driving for a long ways and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm out of Colorado Springs. They kind of do all coincide together. Sometimes I would maybe think about Monument as this northern suburb. It's not, but a northern suburb of Colorado Springs. So really our clients, if they know they want to live in the north, they know they want those D20 or 38 schools, that whole area is kind of open to you as you search and as we find your certain neighborhoods. So you have the Lewis Palmer High School, like I said. Woodmore is a great area. You have the Monument is a little smaller downtown. So Monument is a little bit smaller, but it does have all the amenities that come with Colorado Springs just because you're so close, I will say. You have that Forest Lakes over here. You have a couple lakes that kind of go right in here. So really, you know, what's the difference between Monument and Colorado Springs? Monument is a higher elevation. It did not deter me from, you know, being a little bit colder. It's really not. Now, when you talk about Colorado Springs and Woodland Park, yes, Woodland Park, I would say, is a lot colder, a lot more snowy. You go up that pass. That's different. Monument to Colorado Springs isn't that much. They do get more snow the more north you go. It's a little bit higher elevation, so they do get a little bit more snow. Especially, I would say, in some of those treed areas, the snow doesn't melt as much when you're talking about this area over here in this Black Forest or some of those neighborhoods up in Monument, because it's treed and it's shaded and doesn't have that much sun. Our sun here is pretty powerful. So not a huge difference. I just knew, like I said, I wanted to go north. Monument, that area is appealing to me because it's a little bit more north, and I still get all the amenities of Colorado Springs. But so sorry if I scared you and said that I was thinking of moving Colorado Springs. I do love it here. I just love the sunshine. I love no humidity. I actually love no bugs. I love those views. I've been here for, I'm gonna date myself now, for 25 years now. And that Pikes Peak, those mountain views never get old. I don't know if I could ever leave the mountains. And I love the fact that we can go for a weekend, and there's so many different mountain towns to go explore that it never gets old here, and we just live in a beautiful state. Of course, there are cons that come with it, absolutely. No place is perfect. So you'll find people who do leave here for sure. But I challenge you guys to reach out to us if you are thinking of making the move here to the Colorado Springs area or the Monument area. And whether it's an existing home, whether your price point is $300,000 all the way up to $2 million, we've do it all in between. And we would love to help you guys make the move. We really do pride ourselves on making that transition smooth and easy for you. We've done it hundreds of times, so we kind of have those processes in place. And everyone is different. So your situation, whether you are retired, single, you have a family, you have a growing family, and you need that multi-generational living, every situation is different. And so that's why we like to start it with a text message if you'd like, or hop on that phone call and kind of discuss your situation and tailor that towards you. So reach out. We'd love to help you make the move.